The spaceport was loud and crowded, filled with travelers rushing to ships, neon signs blinking, and robotic voices calling out departures. Ethan Walker, a young human with tired eyes, stood near the ticket machines, clutching his small bag. He had just finished a long shift at the docks, and all he wanted was a quiet trip home. But then he saw something unusual. An old alien stood near the counter. His skin was pale gray, wrinkled like cracked stone, and his back was bent. He wore clothes that looked too big for his thin frame. In his hands he held a few broken credit chips. He tried to pay for a ticket, but the machine beeped red again and again. The alien lowered his head, ashamed. Behind him, some younger travelers laughed. "Look at that fossil, can't even buy a ticket," one of them said. The old alien ignored them, his trembling hands pressing buttons again. His voice was rough when he whispered, "Please, just one seat. I need to go home." Ethan felt something twist inside him. He knew that look, the look of someone who had nothing left. He had seen it before. When his father lost his job, when his neighbor begged for medicine, it was a look of quiet defeat. For a moment, Ethan hesitated. He had very little money himself, just enough for a cheap meal and a ride. But as he watched the alien's shoulders shake, something inside him pushed forward. He stepped up to the counter. "I'll cover it," Ethan said. His voice was calm, but his heart raced. The clerk looked at him in surprise. "Are you sure? This is an alien ticket, not cheap." Ethan nodded. He pressed his card against the scanner, and the screen flashed green. Ticket issued. The old alien turned, his eyes wide. His pupils were silver, glowing faintly in the dim light. For a moment he only stared, as if he couldn't believe what just happened. Then he placed a shaking hand on Ethan's arm. You helped me," the alien whispered. His voice was soft, but there was something in it, something deep, heavy, almost powerful. Ethan tried to smile. "It's nothing, just a ticket. Everyone deserves a way home." But the alien didn't let go of his arm. His silver eyes shone brighter. His lips curved into a faint smile. "You don't know what you've just done, human," he said. His tone sent a shiver down Ethan's spine. It was not gratitude. It was prophecy. The alien stepped away, moving toward the boarding gates. His body still weak, but his steps seemed lighter, stronger. Ethan watched him disappear through the crowd. He felt strange, as if he had touched something far bigger than himself. Then the alarms began. The entire spaceport shook as red lights flashed across the ceiling. Automated voices rang out. "Warning! Unidentified ships entering atmosphere. Please remain calm." Travelers gasped. Some dropped their bags, others rushed toward the exits. Ethan froze, his heart pounded. Through the massive glass dome of the station, the sky outside turned dark. 3 enormous shapes broke through the clouds. Their hulls gleamed with silver and black, marked with strange symbols. Each one was larger than any human battleship Ethan had ever seen. The roar of their engines shook the ground. Windows rattled, ceiling lights flickered. The ships hovered above the port, their shadows swallowing the city. Soldiers in dark armor appeared on the landing platforms. They moved with perfect discipline. Their banners shimmered in the wind, 3 sharp sigils glowing with blue fire. Ethan's throat went dry. Whispers filled the crowd. "Elite fleet. That's the Admiral's crest. Impossible. He vanished years ago. Why are they here?" The soldiers formed 2 lines at the port entrance, and then, as if the entire galaxy held its breath, the old alien Ethan had helped walk slowly out to meet them. Ethan's eyes widened. He had thought the alien was weak, forgotten, but now soldiers, armored and armed, dropped to one knee before him, banners lowered, weapons raised in salute. The spaceport fell. The air inside the spaceport grew heavy. The crowd no longer whispered. They stood frozen, staring at the old alien who had just been saluted by an army. Ethan could feel every heartbeat inside his chest, sharp and loud. His hands trembled, not from fear alone, but from the sense that the world had just shifted. The 3 warships above the port hovered like mountains of steel, blocking the sunlight. Their engines burned with blue fire. Their hulls bore scars of old battles, symbols carved deep into their sides. These were not ordinary ships. They were legends made of metal. Soldiers remained on one knee before the old alien. They were not just guards. They were elite warriors, each one chosen from thousands. They bowed with discipline, as if the alien were their king. Ethan whispered to himself, Who is he?" The answer came from a man nearby, a merchant with trembling hands. his eyes wide with shock. That crest, it belongs to Admiral Kalen. He was the commander of the Ninth Fleet, the one who vanished after the war. They said he died 20 years ago. Ethan's stomach dropped. His mind raced. The fragile, weak figure he had helped was no ordinary traveler. He was a ghost from history, a name buried in the stories of war and power. Kalen, the alien, stood taller now, his back straightened, his silver eyes glowing brighter with every second. The years of weakness seemed to fall away. He turned slowly to face the crowd. "I have returned," he said. His voice thundered through the spaceport, carried by unseen power. The soldiers rose as one. Their weapons gleamed, their voices joined in a chant, a vow of loyalty that shook the walls. Ethan felt the hairs on his arms rise. He didn't understand the language, but he understood the meaning: absolute obedience. The crowd erupted into chaos. Some tried to flee, others shouted, "It's impossible. If Kalen is alive, and the balance will break." Panic spread like fire. The port's human guards pulled out weapons, unsure whether to protect the citizens or stand down before the alien army. Ethan tried to slip back into the crowd. He wanted to disappear, to pretend none of this had anything to do with him. But Kalen's voice stopped him, sharp and commanding. "You," the Admiral said, pointing at Ethan. His silver eyes burned like stars. "Step forward." Ethan froze. Dozens of alien soldiers turned their gaze toward him. Their hands rested on their weapons, waiting. The crowd pulled back, leaving him alone in the open. Slowly, legs shaking, Ethan stepped closer. His voice broke when he asked, "Why me? I'm just a dock worker. I only bought you a ticket." Kalen's expression softened for a moment. A rare warmth touched his face. "In my culture, the one who aids me in need is bound to me. As long as I live, so does my debt. And the debt of an admiral is not small, human." Ethan swallowed hard. His world had just collapsed and rebuilt in the same breath. He didn't want power. He didn't want attention. But now every soldier looked at him as if he was more than just a man, as if he mattered. Before Ethan could speak, alarms blared again. But these were not the same as before. Red lights flashed faster, sirens screamed louder. A robotic voice echoed, "Warning, unidentified fleet approaching. Prepare for conflict." Kalen's eyes narrowed. He looked up through the glass dome, far beyond the three massive ships. And there they were, dark shadows rising over the horizon. Dozens of smaller vessels, fast and armed, flying in tight formation. Enemy ships. The crowd screamed again. Security officers shouted orders. "Get civilians to safety." Families ran toward shelters. Children cried as lights flickered. Ethan's heart pounded faster. He had never seen war up close, only on screens. But now it was above his head. One of Kalen's officers rushed forward, armor shining under the red lights. "Admiral, the rival fleet has found us. They seek your death. They will not let your return go unchallenged." Kalen's face grew hard, his silver eyes sharp as blades. "So they dare," he said, his voice low but filled with fury. He turned to his soldiers. "Prepare the fleet. We fight as we once did, and this time we will not fall." The alien army roared, weapons raised, banners igniting with blue fire. The ground trembled as their war machines powered up. And then Kalen did something no one expected. He placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder, his voice deep and unyielding. "You will come with me, human. You have already stepped into this war, and the galaxy will remember your choice." Ethan's legs nearly gave out. His voice was barely a whisper. "I didn't choose anything." Kalen leaned closer, his silver eyes like burning stars. "Kindness is always a choice, and choices have power." Before Ethan could reply, the ceiling shook. Enemy ships fired the first shots. Explosions lit up the sky. The war had begun, and Ethan, the simple human who only bought a ticket, was now standing at the center of it. The battle above the city shook the ground. Red streaks of plasma fire cut across the sky. Explosions burst like suns. The rival fleet pushed hard, their ships darting in formation like hunting wolves. But the three giant warships of Admiral Kalen stood unshaken, shields glowing like burning walls. Ethan watched in disbelief. He had never seen a real space battle this close. The sky itself looked like it was tearing apart. People around him screamed, soldiers shouted commands, alarms wailed. But one thing was clear. The enemy fleet had not come for the city. They had come for Kalen. The Admiral stood tall at the edge of the platform, his silver eyes reflecting the flames above. He raised one paw, and his soldiers snapped to attention. "Bring my flagship to the port," he ordered. His voice was iron. Moments later, the ground trembled as a massive ramp lowered from the belly of the largest warship. The ship's hull glowed with ancient marks, scars from battles fought long before Ethan was even born. Kalen turned toward Ethan, his expression unreadable. "You, human," he said, his voice echoing even in the chaos. "You will come with me." Ethan's mouth went dry. "Me? No, I can't. I'm just a dock worker. I don't belong up there." Kalen's silver eyes locked onto him, sharp and commanding. "You showed me kindness when no one else dared. In my culture, that makes you my bond-bearer. You will not stay behind. You will walk with me." The soldiers around Kalen turned their heads toward Ethan, not with anger but with respect. Some even bowed their heads as if acknowledging him already. Ethan's heart pounded. His mind screamed to run, but his legs carried him forward step by step up the ramp. Behind him, the crowd stared in shock. Some whispered, "Why him?" Others hissed, "A human? Impossible." Inside the flagship, the air was different, thicker, alive with power. The halls were lined with banners, alien runes glowing softly. Soldiers marched in perfect lines, not one step out of place. Every corridor hummed with energy. Ethan felt like he had stepped into another world. Kalen led him to the command chamber. It was vast, filled with tall windows showing the burning sky outside. A great chair stood at the center, surrounded by glowing screens and floating maps of space. Officers stood waiting, their eyes on Kalen. But when Ethan entered, their gazes shifted to him. Some looked curious, others doubtful. A murmur spread through the chamber until Kalen raised his hand for silence. "This human is under my protection," Kalen declared. His voice was firm. "He is to be honored as one who carries my bond." Ethan felt dozens of alien eyes on him, his hands clenched into fists, his chest tightened. He wanted to say he wasn't ready, that he didn't want this, but the words died in his throat. One officer, tall and scarred, stepped forward. "Admiral, with respect, this is a human. They are young in the stars, weak, untested. Why should one of them be placed among us?" Kalen's silver eyes narrowed. "Because when the galaxy turned away, this human stepped forward. Because when I was nothing but a shadow, he gave without fear." His voice grew colder. "Would any of you have done the same?" Silence fell across the chamber. No one spoke. No one dared. Kalen turned back to Ethan. His face softened just slightly. "You are no longer a bystander, human. The galaxy now watches you, as it watches me." Ethan's throat was dry. His voice shook. "What do you want from me?" Kalen leaned closer, his silver eyes burning. "Not what I want, but what you will choose. Stay, and you will see a galaxy of fire and war. Leave, and you will always wonder what fate you turned away from." Ethan's mind raced. He looked out the tall windows, at the battle raging in the skies, ships burning, fleets colliding. And then he looked back at Kalen, the once forgotten admiral now rising again. Something inside Ethan stirred, a feeling he didn't understand. Not courage exactly, but the sense that destiny had pulled him here for a reason. Before he could answer, the ship shook violently. An explosion tore across the left side. Alarms blared. Officers shouted, "Shields breached! Enemy boarding craft inbound!" Kalen's eyes flashed. He turned to his soldiers. "Defend this ship. Let them come. They will learn fear." Then he looked at Ethan, placing a firm hand on his shoulder. "Your choice will come sooner than you think, human. The enemy is here, and you will stand with us." The doors hissed open, and armed enemy soldiers stormed in, plasma rifles glowing. Ethan's breath caught in his chest. His hands shook as the chamber filled with chaos, and in that instant he realized he was no longer just a dock worker. He was standing at the heart of a war, and the galaxy would remember what he did next. The enemy soldiers burst into the command chamber, their armor black as ash, their weapons glowing red with charged plasma. They moved fast, too fast, as if they had trained for this exact moment. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. He froze as the first blast of fire lit up the room. Alien officers dove for cover. Kalen's soldiers raised their shields and returned fire. Sparks flew, smoke filled the chamber, the sound was deafening. Kalen did not move. He stood tall at the center, silver eyes blazing, his voice cut through the chaos like thunder. "Hold the line!" The enemy troops hesitated for a split second at the sound of his command. It was as if his voice carried a weight that pressed down on their courage. In that heartbeat of hesitation, Kalen's guards struck, blades and rifles flashing. The attackers fell, but more poured through the doors. Ethan crouched low, his heart racing. His mind screamed, "I don't belong here. I'm not a soldier." But then his eyes caught something. A young alien cadet, no older than Ethan himself, trapped under debris, struggling to breathe. The enemy soldiers closed in on him, rifles raised. Without thinking, Ethan moved. He grabbed a fallen weapon from the floor. It was heavy, alive with strange energy. His hands shook as he raised it. He pulled the trigger, and a burst of blue fire shot out, striking the enemy square in the chest. The soldier fell, smoke rising from his armor. The cadet's eyes widened. You saved me," he gasped. Ethan's chest tightened. He had just killed someone, but there was no time to think. The battle raged. "On," Kalen's voice boomed again. "Seal the chamber." Heavy doors slammed shut, cutting off more attackers. The surviving enemy soldiers were quickly overwhelmed. Silence fell, broken only by the hiss of smoke and the groans of the wounded. Ethan dropped the weapon, his hands trembling. His breath came in sharp gasps. He wanted to believe it was over, but Kalen's expression told him otherwise. The Admiral's silver eyes narrowed, filled with cold fury. "They knew exactly where to strike," Kalen said, his voice low. "They knew my return would not go unanswered." He looked around the chamber, his gaze sharp as a blade. "There are shadows moving behind this attack. They watch us. They wait for weakness." An officer stepped forward, blood dripping from a cut across his cheek. "Admiral, if you have truly returned, the old enemies will rise again. They feared you once. They will not allow you to rise a second time." Kalen turned slowly toward Ethan, his gaze heavy. "And now they know your face too, human. The moment you stood with me, you became part of this war." Ethan's stomach nodded. "I didn't ask for this. I just wanted to help. I never—" Kalen cut him off, his voice sharp. "No war is asked for. It comes whether we want it or not. And when it does, we choose only one thing, whether to stand or to fall." The word struck Ethan deep. He wanted to argue, to run, but something inside him whispered that Kalen was right. He had already made his choice when he bought that ticket, and now the galaxy had answered. Before Ethan could reply, the ship's lights flickered. A holographic display flared to life in the center of the chamber, showing dozens more enemy ships dropping out of warp. The rival fleet was growing. An officer's voice shook as he reported, "Admiral, they are broadcasting a message addressed to you." Kalen's eyes narrowed. "Play it." The hologram shifted and a new figure appeared, an alien cloaked in black, face hidden behind a mask of steel. His voice was cold, sharp. "Kalen, ghost of the old. At wars, I warned you, stay buried. The galaxy does not need you. Surrender now, and perhaps I will let your human pet live." Every soldier in the chamber turned to look at Ethan. The air grew heavy. Ethan's stomach twisted. His knees almost gave out. The enemy leader knew about him already. Kalen's silver eyes burned brighter than ever. His voice roared like thunder. "You dare threaten what is under my protection? You will regret those words, Shadow Lord." The masked figure laughed, a hollow echoing sound. "Then let the galaxy burn once more. We will hunt you, and your human will be the bait." The hologram vanished, leaving only silence. Ethan felt his chest tighten. His voice cracked. "Why me? Why are they focusing on me?" Kalen placed a heavy hand on his shoulder, his grip firm, unshakable. "Because you represent what they fear most," he said. "A bond between human and admiral, a bridge they cannot control." The ship trembled again as enemy fire struck the shields. Officers rushed to stations, soldiers prepared for boarding. The battle was only beginning. And Ethan, a simple dock worker who only bought a ticket, now carried the weight of being hunted by powers he could not even name. In the shadows of space, enemies were rising, and Ethan's life would never be the same again. The flagship shook violently as another blast rocked its shields. The lights flickered, sparks rained down from broken wires. The entire ship seemed to groan under the weight of enemy fire. Ethan gripped the side of a console, his heart hammering in his chest. Around him, alien officers shouted orders, their voices sharp, weapons hummed with energy, screens lit up with warnings, shields at 40% hull damage detected. Kalen stood unshaken in the center, his silver eyes fixed on the battle map. Enemy ships swarmed like predators, circling closer, faster, stronger. For every blast they blocked, another followed. An officer shouted, "Admiral, our second flank is collapsing. We cannot hold much longer."
Kalen's gaze shifted slowly to Ethan. The weight in his stare made Ethan's chest tighten. "Then it is time," the Admiral said, his voice steady. "Bring the human to the command chair." Ethan's eyes widened. "Wait, what?" "No, I can't. I'm not a soldier. I don't know how to do this." Kalen's silver eyes burned brighter. "You already made a choice when you saved me. Now you must prove it. Sit, human, take command." Two soldiers guided Ethan forward, almost lifting him into the great chair at the center of the chamber. It was massive, alive with glowing lights and symbols he couldn't understand. As soon as he sat down, the controls adjusted to him, shifting, translating, the screens filled with words in human language. His throat went dry. He whispered, "It's reading me." Kalen's voice cut sharp. "The ship knows you. It has accepted you. Now lead." Ethan stared at the glowing map, dozens of enemy ships closing in on their three. He felt like a child staring at an impossible puzzle. His hands shook, sweat dripped down his face. I don't know what to do." Kalen leaned close, his voice low, heavy with command. "Do what humans always do. Adapt, improvise, survive. Trust yourself, trust your instincts. The galaxy has never fought a human commander before. Show them why they should fear it." Ethan's chest tightened. He looked again at the map, and then, slowly, something clicked. The enemy fleet was fast, but reckless. Their formation was too tight, too predictable. He remembered the docks, where ships had to move carefully or collide. He remembered breaking up fights in the streets by letting one fighter's own strength turn against him. "Pull our center back," Ethan said suddenly, his voice unsteady but firm. "Make them think we're retreating." The officers hesitated, but Kalen gave a sharp nod. "Do as he says." The three warships shifted formation, pulling away. Their shields flickered, making it look like they were falling apart. The enemy fleet surged forward, chasing with fury. "Now," Ethan whispered, his mind racing, "turn the flanks inward. Cut them off." The two outer warships swung like jaws snapping shut. The enemy ships, packed too close together, slammed into each other. Their tight formation collapsed into chaos. Explosions tearing through their own ranks, gasps filled the chamber. Officers turned toward Ethan, their eyes wide. He had just tricked an entire fleet into breaking itself. Kalen's silver eyes gleamed with pride. "Good," he said, his voice like steel. "Now strike." Ethan swallowed hard, his voice steadier now. "All ships, fire everything." The chamber shook as the flagship unleashed its cannons. Blue fire tore across the void, slicing through enemy hulls. The two allied ships joined in, beams of light tearing through the chaos. The enemy fleet erupted in flames, broken, scattered, retreating. The battle was over. Silence filled the command chamber, broken only by the hum of surviving engines. The officers stared at Ethan, some in awe, others in disbelief. He sat frozen in the chair, his hands trembling. His heart felt like it would explode. Finally, one officer spoke, his voice almost reverent. "The human. He commanded like a warrior born." Another whispered, "He sees patterns we cannot. He fights in ways we do not understand." Kalen stepped forward, his voice carrying the weight of history. "This human has shown you what instinct and courage mean. Do not doubt him again. For today, he has saved us all." Ethan shook his head, his voice cracking. "No. I just guessed. I just got lucky." But Kalen placed a heavy hand on his shoulder. "No, human, that was no guess. That was vision. And now the galaxy will know that you are not weak." Ethan's stomach knotted. He wanted to deny it, to step away, but deep down, he felt something stir, something that both terrified and excited him. For the first time, he had commanded a fleet, and he had won.
Outside the windows, enemy wreckage floated in silence, burning like dying stars. And somewhere beyond that silence, more eyes were watching, more enemies waiting. Ethan realized he had crossed a line he could never return from. He was no longer invisible, no longer a dock worker lost in the crowd. The galaxy would remember his name, and not everyone would see that as a good thing. The battlefield outside Kalen's flagship had gone silent. The wreckage of enemy ships floated like broken bones in the dark sky. Flames flickered across the void, slowly dying out. The enemy had retreated, but their message had been sent. The shadows would not stop until Kalen was erased. Inside the command chamber, no one moved. The soldiers and officers stood still, their eyes fixed on Ethan. He still sat in the command chair, his hands trembling, his chest heaving. He couldn't believe it. He had given orders, real orders, and alien warships had obeyed him. And worse, he had won. Kalen broke the silence first. His silver eyes gleamed like fire. His voice was calm but carried iron. "Remember this moment," he told his crew. "Today, a human stood at this chair, and he broke a fleet." The soldiers struck their weapons against the floor in salute. The sound echoed like thunder. Ethan's throat tightened. He wanted to disappear, to tell them he wasn't special, but no one in the room saw him as ordinary anymore. Word spread fast, faster than light could travel. Within hours, broadcasts blazed across star systems. Ethan's face appeared on alien screens, images of him in the command chair repeated again and again. Headlines screamed in dozens of languages. "Human leads fleet to victory." "Kalen's bond-bearer breaks the shadows." "Earth's child awakens the stars." Back on Earth, government scrambled. Officials demanded answers. Some feared what Ethan had done. Others whispered about opportunity. Could humanity finally take a place among the stars? Or had Ethan just painted a target on every human alive? But not only humans watched. Across the galaxy, alien leaders gathered in council chambers. Their voices sharp, their eyes filled with fear. A reptilian chancellor hissed, "This cannot be allowed. If humans can command fleets like this, they will rise too quickly." A feathered matriarch leaned forward, her voice calm but dangerous. "Kalen has tied himself to one of them. That makes Earth more than just a minor world. It makes it a symbol, and symbols are dangerous." Not all voices were against him. A crystalline ambassador spoke with awe. "Do you not see? The human did what none of us could. He broke the enemy's formation not with power, but with instinct. This is something new, something the galaxy must respect." The council erupted in argument. Some wanted to isolate Earth, to brand it a threat. Others whispered about alliances, treaties, and war. The galaxy was dividing, and at the center of it all was Ethan, a man who had never asked for any of this. On the flagship, Ethan paced in Kalen's private chamber. His hands shook, his voice cracked when he finally spoke. "I don't want this. I'm not a hero. I'm not a commander. I'm just a dock worker who bought a ticket." Kalen stood by the window, watching the wreckage drift in silence. His silver eyes reflected the broken ships. "You are more than you believe," he said, his voice low but firm. "The galaxy has seen you. They will not forget. That cannot be undone." Ethan's voice rose with frustration. "But why me? Why not one of your own officers? They're trained. They understand war. I don't." Kalen turned slowly, his gaze sharp. "Because you are human," he said simply. "Your people are not bound by the same patterns as the rest of the galaxy. You fight with chaos, with instinct, with heart. The enemy cannot predict you. That is your power." The words struck Ethan deep, but before he could reply, the doors burst open. An officer rushed in, his voice urgent. "Admiral, incoming transmissions from 6 star systems. They are not hostile. They request audience with the human." Ethan's eyes widened. "Me? Why me?" The officer bowed his head. "They say they want to see the human who defeated the Shadow Fleet. Some call you a savior, some call you a weapon. All of them want to know what you will do next." Ethan felt his knees weaken. He whispered, "This is too big. I can't." Kalen stepped forward, placing a firm hand on his shoulder. "The galaxy has already chosen you, Ethan. The question now is not whether you are ready, but whether you will rise." Outside the window, more ships began to appear. Warships, emissary vessels, scouts, each bearing different banners. Each one had come because of him. Ethan pressed a hand against the glass, staring at the endless void now filled with watching eyes. His stomach twisted with fear, but also with something else. Something he could not deny anymore. The galaxy was paying attention, and soon the shadows would too. The void above Earth was no longer empty. It burned with banners and warships from across the stars. They came in silence at first, massive vessels of steel and flame, cruisers glowing like suns, carriers with wings stretching miles across, fighters swarming like bees in the dark. Each one bore different colors, different sigils, yet all of them turned toward the same planet, toward Earth. Ethan stood at the viewing deck of Kalen's flagship, his reflection pale against the glass. His stomach knotted as he counted them. Dozens, then hundreds of ships, a whole galaxy staring at his homeworld. He whispered, "Why are they here?" Kalen's silver eyes gleamed. His voice was steady like thunder held in chains. "Because of you, human. They came to witness the on, who defied the shadows. They came to measure whether Earth is a danger or a hope." Ethan's throat tightened, his mind spun. He had never asked for this, yet now Earth, his world, stood at the center of galactic history. The Council ships positioned themselves in orbit. Their signals filled the comms. Some spoke of respect, others of fear, and some of war. The galaxy was divided, but before decisions could be made, the shadows returned. From the black edges of space, a fleet of darkness emerged, their ships twisted and sharp, glowing with red light. Their leader's masked face filled the skies, projected on every screen, his voice cold and cruel. "Kalen, I warned you, and you human, I will tear your world apart. I will burn Earth to ash, and the galaxy will see your kind destroyed before it begins." The fleet moved forward, weapons powering. The Council's ships wavered. Some prepared to retreat, others aimed their weapons. The whole galaxy held its breath. Kalen turned to Ethan. His silver eyes burned like fire. "This is the moment, human. They came to see what you are. Show them." Ethan's heart thundered. He wanted to say he couldn't, that he was just a man. But deep inside, he knew running wasn't an option anymore. If he failed now, Earth would be nothing but smoke and dust. He stepped forward to the command chair. His voice shook, but it carried, "If they want to test us, then let them learn what humans are." The flagship roared to life. Its cannons glowed with blue fire. Kalen's soldiers shouted in unison, "For the bond bearer!" The Allied ships rallied, turning toward the enemy fleet. For the first time, humanity stood at the center of a galactic war. The shadows struck first. Their fire lit the sky red. Whole ships exploded. Their fury was endless. But Ethan saw the pattern. He leaned forward, pointing to the map. "They're pushing too hard, split. Their formation, strike the wings, make the center collapse." Orders flashed across the fleet. Ships swung into motion. The Council forces, once divided, now followed Ethan's commands. Their chaos became unity. Their hesitation turned into fury. Explosions shook the heavens. Shadow ships cracked and burned. The void itself glowed with the fire of war. The masked leader's voice echoed again, filled with rage. "You are nothing, a dock worker, a child of dirt." But Ethan cut him off. His voice calm, his words carried across every open channel. "I am human, and humanity is not nothing. Humanity adapts. Humanity survives. Humanity fights." The galaxy listened. The shadows broke. Their fleet scattered, their flagship torn apart in flames. The masked leader's signal died in static. Silence filled the void, broken only by the burning wreckage of the fallen. And then, something no one expected happened. One by one, the warships surrounding Earth turned their bows toward Kalen's flagship. Engines dimmed, weapons lowered. Slowly, carefully, each massive ship lowered itself in salute. Banners dipped, lights dimmed, an entire galaxy bowed in silence. Ethan stood frozen, his chest tight, his hands shaking. He whispered, "All I did was buy a ticket." But Kalen's voice rose like thunder, heard across every channel. "No, human. You showed the galaxy that kindness has power. You showed them that Earth is not to be ignored. From this day forward, they will remember your name." The fleet saluted once more, the sound of engines humming like a choir. Earth, once small and forgotten, now stood at the center of everything, and Ethan, a simple dock worker who chose kindness, had changed the course of galactic history forever.